past 10 months or so, HBO has been revealing some of the names of the cast members who are going to appear in the first season of the new Harry Potter series, that is, the Philosopher's Stone. Needless to say, it's natural for many of us to feel a little skeptical about the casting choices. We think the most amount of debate has taken place around Paapa Essiedu and Arabella Stanton being cast as Professor Snape and Hermione Granger respectively. Well, I don't want to jump to conclusions just yet. We're pretty optimistic about what they're going to bring to the table when the series is released this Christmas, especially based on their previous work. But the fact remains, every character that we'll encounter, with the exception of Professor Flitwick, will feel new, and while the show seems to be grander in scale than the movies, we'll still need at least a couple of episodes to get used to things. But the thing is, each of these actors will bring something new and different and good to their characters, and that's why in this video, we're going to talk exactly about that, i.e., the 15 greatest Harry Potter characters confirmed for Harry Potter Season 1. From a much more vile and hostile Dursley family to a super book-accurate Dumbledore and McGonagall, and many others, let's just dive in, shall we? It's going to be a good one.
Mr. Potter, I think we can expect great things from you.
Number 1. Dominic McLaughlin as Harry Potter. In an interview, Daniel Radcliffe himself said this about the new kids taking over the mantles of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. "I don't want to be a specter in the life of these children." In fact, he even wrote a letter to Dominic where he said, and I quote, "I hope you have the best time, and an even better time than I did. I had a great time, but I hope you have an even better time." And that's something we all need to accept as far as the new show is concerned. Seeing this young kid, Dominic, on screen as a character that you and I loved and cherished will be a completely new and surreal experience. This new Harry Potter won't be like Daniel Radcliffe's, and that's not a bad thing. This kid is going to bring his own charm to it. While Radcliffe is English, Dominic is actually Scottish, although there's no thick Scottish accent as such. He probably won't be as overly sharp with his reactions and facial expressions as Radcliffe, because from what we saw in the trailer, Dominic is going to be more grounded, more about realism than awe and shock, at least as far as the first book is concerned. In fact, in the trailer, there's a scene where Dudley is gearing up to attack Harry while two other brutes hold him in place. In that scheme, McLaughlin's Harry is angry at Dudley, not really scared. Like he knows Dudley is a piece of shit who only bullies the weak and that Dudley should be shown his place. The only hiccup is that now isn't really the time to do so, so our guy is just patiently waiting for his time to come.
Are you really Harry Potter?
2. Alistair Stout as Ron Weasley. You know what? Radcliffe isn't the only one writing letters to his successor. Rupert Grint, the man who once played Ron Weasley, did the same thing for Alistair Stout. And this is what Grint had to say about the letter he wrote. It was really just wishing him all the best with it. "I had so much fun stepping into this world, and I hope he has the same experience. It's quite strange to have the cycle happening again. I'm really intrigued what it's going to look like." And if you've checked the trailer out, Alistair already looks smarter than movie Ron, and that's going to be interesting. I mean, he wasn't as silly in the books, right? Ron had his own way of thinking and doing things, but the movies focused on that part much later, and then it felt kind of on the nose when Hermione was surprised at Ron being smart. For instance, when he suggests that Harry disappeared on the Marauders' map because he went to the Room of Requirement. We don't think the new Hermione will have to feign such expressions because our boy Alistair not only already looks smart, he's just as adorable as young Rupert, complete with inappropriate and awkward lightning gestures at Harry and his lightning-shaped scar.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
3. Arabella Stanton as Hermione Granger. Well, she had us at Leviosa, and if anyone still has doubts, check out this audition reel and put those doubts to rest. Not only that, Arabella is also voicing Hermione in Harry Potter, the full cast audio editions, which is an endeavor between Audible and J.K. Rowling's Pottermore. Honestly, we think Emma Watson's casting as Hermione in the movies just couldn't get better, and if it were up to us, we'd bring her back for the role of Hermione in the TV series, but our time machine isn't really functioning that well these days, you know? Jokes aside, Arabella Stanton looks perfect for the role, complete with her witty and confident banter. A girl who's a bit of a snob, sometimes very stern, but has a heart of gold, much like Professor McGonagall, who could totally be seen as Hermione's role model. In fact, Stanton arguably looks the part more than Emma. The book says that Miss Granger has A. brown eyes, B. frizzy, bushy, and curly brown hair, C. hands from sun exposure, and D, big front teeth. Well, Stanton fits that role on all counts. And honestly, we couldn't be happier with this choice. She looks the part physically, and also she has that glint in her eye. Hermione in the books is a total menace, if not a mess, and not really the perfect angel that the movies went with. We can't wait to see these three on screen, honestly, but let me talk about the three people heavily featured in the trailer who would become Harry's family during his pre-Hogwarts days.
There is nothing special.
4. Belle Powley as Mrs. Petunia Dursley. What's most striking about the new Petunia is that she's way more hostile and evil than previous iterations. I mean, in the movies, she's basically following her husband's leads, but things are going to change now. In the trailer, Petunia can be seen cutting Harry's hair because it keeps on growing, no matter how often she does it. This is basically Harry's psyche resisting Petunia and her ways, and we never got such intricate details from the Dursley household in the movies, or even how exactly Harry was treated by the three of them. In the trailer, at least, Petunia holds a pair of scissors and points them at Harry, telling him that there was absolutely nothing special about him, and that he was simply an ordinary, very ordinary boy. Of course, that's far from the truth because he's the chosen one. While talking to Harry, you can see that Petunia's eyes don't just have hate for him and years of compounded jealousy for her late sister. This time around, Petunia also has disgust in her eyes, as if Harry is some kind of vermin that she has to sustain. So yeah, Belle Powley and her acting range is going to make Petunia much more worthy of hatred, maybe as much as the notorious Bellatrix Lestrange or Dolores Jane Umbridge. In other words, the Dursleys are going to be 100% book and 200% evil. 5. Amos Kitson as Dudley Dursley. Now, Amos Kitson is going to be playing Dudley Dursley, and from what we can tell, he's going to be a more sinister bully to Harry than the film version. I mean, the film version of Dudley bullied Harry for fun, like he extracted happiness out of it, right? But the series version is going to derive pleasure out of tormenting Harry. It's a subtle difference, but it goes a long way. Kitson's Dudley seems like a sadist who's already using his gang against Harry. In the books, Dudley forms his gang and gets involved with a few others. They start by tormenting 10 or 11-year-olds, like our chosen one, and then graduate to worse crimes. In the trailer, you can see that Dudley and his gang are chasing Harry, and ultimately, two of them hold the poor kid down, while Dudley comes closer, prepared to strike. It seems like the trailer is foreshadowing Dudley's later gang activity, but we're pretty sure that even the series Dudley is going to be the same stupid kid he's always been in the books and movies. Number 6. Vernon Dursley. From what it looks like, Mr. Vernon Dursley is going to be less cartoonish than his movie iteration. Actor Daniel Rigby is taking on the mantle, and he's clearly not as fat as his previous iteration, and the dynamics between him and his wife will also change. We're of the opinion that when it comes to hurting Harry psychologically and physically, Petunia will be the one wearing the pants in the relationship, and Vernon will be following her lead. The first shot of the trailer shows him reading from a newspaper in a house that just screams middle-class 90s England. We'll also be seeing a lot more of number 4 Privet Drive, and that's a good thing because it'll give us a fair idea as to how the Dursleys lived their middle-class life in their middle-class house, wearing their middle-class clothes while trying to keep Harry away from the world. In his room, silent, pretending he doesn't exist. The Dursleys in the first book were written as evil, comical characters, mostly because J.K. Rowling decided to flesh them out properly only when she got to the second book. So, it'll be interesting to see if that changes. And now, let's talk about 3 of the most important professors in Harry's life, shall we? Number 7. Paapa Essiedu as Professor Severus Snape. Believe it or not, this poor guy is already getting death threats over his casting as Snape, and the security around the sets has been beefed up. But I mean, have you seen Gangs of London? Well, Paapa Essiedu does a wonderful job there, and you should give it a watch if you want to get the full extent of what this man can do. We're aware of the concerns people have with his casting, and they're the same as the concerns behind the casting of the entire House Valerian and House of the Dragon, but that doesn't mean House of the Dragon is a lesser show than it would have been. We're not here to contradict anyone, but let's just wait for like a couple of episodes to see what Paapa Essiedu brings to the table. Alan Rickman was a legend even before he starred as Snape. I mean, who could possibly forget Hans Gruber from Die Hard, right? Clearly, Paapa Essiedu has huge shoes to fill, and although he doesn't look like the book Snape, he does look pretty cool in his black robes and those dreadlocks. There's multiple shots of him circulating online, and in the recent trailer, you can see him wielding his wand with the Lumos charm to see if someone's nearby. Of course, Harry's right there under the cloak of invisibility, and although Snape can't see him, he knows Harry's there because Snape's a legilamen, someone who can navigate another person's mind to interpret feelings, memories, and thoughts. Next up, we've got 8. Janet McTeer as Professor Minerva McGonagall. Much like Paapa Essiedu, Miss McTeer also has a huge task before her, playing a role that Maggie Smith played so wonderfully in the film series. Now, McTeer looks totally badass in her super Scottish look, complete with the whole tartan thing going on, and it's safe to say that the costume department is killing it. In fact, they've been killing it with nearly everyone. Did you notice Harry's Quidditch uniform with that number 7 printed on the robe? I mean, that's just awesome stuff. As for Janet McTeer, her McGonagall will have every bit the heart of gold that Maggie Smith's version had, but we're assuming that this time around, McGonagall is going to be more fiery and with the nerves of a lion. So she'll be super strict and super stern, but she won't shy away from being just and honest like the woman she is. We're super excited to see her in action. But next up, we have the GOAT of all Harry Potter professors, number 9, John Lithgow as Professor Dumbledore. Unlike many other Harry Potter characters, 3 different people have played Dumbledore if you ignore his super young version. We're talking about Jude Law, Richard Harris, and Michael Gambon. Among them, Richard Harris is obviously considered to be the most book accurate, but he was a bit fragile for Dumbledore. Gambon's portrayal in the 3rd movie was amazing, and so was his portrayal in the King's Cross scene at the end, but apart from that, Gambon's version is what could have been if Dumbledore had made all the wrong choices. I mean, the headmaster of Hogwarts is supposed to be this guy who's the personification of quiet power. He's tremendously and obnoxiously powerful as a wizard, but he's also soft-spoken, polite, calm, and honestly whimsical. Harris's version was equally warm and approachable, but as we said, he lacked the build. But that issue is fixed with John Lithgow, who has the same super long Snow White beard. We thought his hat in the trailer was pretty rad, but some people out there are kind of disagreeing. In the trailer, Dumbledore is using a tuning fork, but why is he holding one? We have 2 theories. Either he's testing some security arrangement at maybe Gringotts, like Harry's possessions left to him by his parents, or maybe the tuning fork-like device will help him with the pensieve. If you've got a better explanation, we're all ears. But now, let's talk about Harry's oldest friend at Hogwarts. Yep, we're talking about
Professor Dumbledore, sir?
10. Nick Frost as Rubeus Hagrid. In the book, Hagrid's face is described as almost completely hidden by a long shaggy mane of hair and a wild tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes, glinting like black beetles under all the hair. We will agree that Nick's Hagrid doesn't check all the boxes, but at times, we've got to give up this obsession with book loyalty when looks are concerned. We're personally more concerned about whether Nick Frost is able to do justice to a beloved character like Hagrid. Also, how much respect and homage would Frost pay to Robbie Coltrane's Hagrid? In the trailer, he can be seen riding the tube with Harry and telling him about his parents and how they were the kindest and bravest souls he'd ever met, and we all agree that's mostly true. Honestly, we're sometimes surprised Harry didn't grow up to be a piece of shit like the Dursleys after spending so much time with them in his formative years, but then we remember the spell that Lily Potter cast on Harry that fateful night in Godric's Hollow. The spell that saved him from more evil beings than just Voldemort. It protected him from becoming like the Dursleys. Maybe Lily even knew that Harry would have to go to her sister after she died, and that's why Lily added a little something to her spell. But we digress. Next up, let's talk about Harry's student nemesis, shall we?
What's the matter, Potter? Bit beyond your reach?
11. Laux Pratt as Draco Malfoy. This is what Laux Pratt looks like in BBC's Lord of the Flies. And you know what? You can almost hear it in his eyes. My father will hear about this. Yep, that's what I hear when I look in those eyes, no mistaking it. This kid is extremely talented as an actor, and although he's gonna play the hate-worthy Draco Malfoy, you can be sure we'll appreciate his acting. Pouty and petulant in every sense of the words, he seems to be apt for the part and should paint Draco with a very real-world, cruel, and cold menace, which will raise the character's bar to a whole nother level of contemptuous and threatening. I mean, we're not going to say that Tom Felton was in any way a bad Draco. He absolutely nailed the character and plays Draco even to this day in Harry Potter plays and musicals, but having said that, Laux Pratt will bring a different flavor to the character. In the trailer, Draco, along with Crabbe, Goyle, and Pansy Parkinson, bring out their wands, and we're guessing they're doing so in front of Harry and company. Oh, and by the way, Crabbe, Goyle and Pansy Parkinson are going to be played by Finn Stevens, William Nash, and Lila Barwick, respectively. For the uninitiated, Pansy is also a Slytherin and a friend of Draco's.
Murdered my cat. I'll kill you.
12. Paul Whitehouse as Argus Filch. And Professor McGonagall just calls David Bradley's character a blithering idiot. I mean, he was one in the movie, we won't deny that, but what people often forget is that Filch was a squib, someone who was born to at least one magical parent, being a witch or a wizard, but who has no magical abilities of their own. And honestly, we believe that's way worse than being a muggle, because you know about the wizarding world, but you don't get to participate in it. You're almost like a second-class citizen. Sadly, that's also the reason why Filch is so bitter towards the students. Imagine seeing kids learning and performing magic while you simply can't, although you were supposed to. And then you have to clean up their magically made messes all day without any magic of your own? That must have hurt. Anyways, Mr. Bradley also played the conniving Walder Frey, and now the mantle is going to go to Paul Whitehouse, who's done his fair share of TV shows and movies. In fact, he also has a strange connection with the Harry Potter universe itself. You see, he actually played the character of Sir Cadogan in the 2004 movie Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, but his scenes were left on the cutting room floor. It's kind of like a full circle that's coming back to Hogwarts. Number 13. Luke Thalin as Quirinus Quirrell. We actually think the casting for Professor Quirrell fixes something that always felt a bit off in the movies, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. HBO brings in Luke Thalin as Quirinus Quirrell, and on paper, he's not the most obvious pick if you're only thinking in terms of big screen credits. But here's the thing. His theater work already tells you he can handle layered roles. And, most importantly, his age changes how the character works. Let's compare this to Ian Hart, who was around 37 in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which, sure, fits for a Hogwarts professor, no issue there, but Thalin is 29. That's a noticeable change, and honestly, it helps, because the books never say anything with surety about Quirrell's age, but they do hint at it. Harry describes him as young and pale, and Hagrid talks about him like someone who hasn't been out in the world for very long. So, when Thalin plays the character, he won't feel like an established academic. He'll be someone who's still figuring stuff out, and it'll become crucial once Voldy enters the picture. Think about it. Quirrell meets Voldemort in Albania, hears promises of power, and agrees to let him latch onto the back of his head. That decision always needed a bit of, let's say, vulnerability. I mean, someone who doesn't think a lot before doing things, you know? With an older Quirrell, you kind of question it, but with a younger one, it checks out a little more. He feels more impressionable, maybe even unsure of himself. Furthermore, this version lines up better with his earlier role as a Muggle studies teacher. He wasn't some long-time dark wizard, he was on a completely different path, and then something went wrong. 14. Warwick Davis as Phileas Flitwick. Alright, okay, this one feels a bit surreal, not gonna lie. You've got a brand new Harry Potter series in the works, fresh cast, new faces everywhere, and then suddenly Warwick Davis walks back in as Professor Flitwick. Same role, same world, different era. We had to pause for a second after we confirmed that not only did he play Professor Flitwick in all 8 movies, but also played Griphook the Goblin in the final 2 movies. This time, he's sticking with Flitwick, while Lee Gill takes over Griphook. Anyways, what really caught our attention was what Davis said about the series itself. He calls it a very faithful adaptation of the books. And look, we've heard that phrase before, but the way he puts it, it sounds like they're not trying to reinvent anything. Instead, they want to retell the same story, just with more depth and detail. That's the key difference. Interestingly, he also talks about returning to Leavesden Studio, which is where the original films were shot.
I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter.
15. Anton Lesser as Garrick Ollivander. Now, this one, we didn't expect to like this casting as much as we do, but here we are. Anton Lesser as Garrick Ollivander? Yeah, that actually works, and maybe more than it should. You might remember him playing Qyburn in Game of Thrones, and if you do, you already know the vibe he brings. Calm, soft-spoken, but there's something just slightly off underneath, and that's exactly what Ollivander needs. In fact, that's exactly who Ollivander really is. Because, let's get real, the wand maker was never meant to feel completely comforting. Now, before this, we had John Hurt, and he nailed that quiet, almost gentle presence. He gives Harry that iconic line about expecting great things, and you believe him. But Lesser might be taking a slightly different route. When he says the same line in the trailer, there's not much optimism, but excitement. Like he wants to know what's going to happen in the times to come. So yeah, there may be less warmth, more mystery. We're not saying one is better than the other, but the change is obvious, and of course, interesting. Now, I'll say this, and yeah, I'm going to say it out loud, Lesser is already 74. And if this show runs across all 7 seasons, which we're expecting, we're talking at least a decade of filming. And Ollivander isn't a one-season character. We see him throughout the series. So yeah, we're kind of low-key rooting for the guy here and hoping he eats his vegetables, if you know what we mean. But in terms of casting, he absolutely fits the roles, and he feels like one of the strongest picks so far. He brings that slightly unsettling edge that the books hint at. For us, that's exactly what we wanted. Now, we think it would be super unjust if we didn't mention the Weasley family, at least those who have been confirmed, so let's just do a quick rundown, yeah? First up, Catherine Parkinson is playing Molly Weasley. Ron and the other Weasley siblings' warm, loud, welcoming, and ferociously protective mother. In the trailer, Ron can be seen hugging Molly while Harry looks out from the window of his Hogwarts Express compartment. It's a surprisingly emotional scene since Harry doesn't even remember his own mom, and here he is, going on a journey to a whole nother world that's full of strangers, and it's only natural that even he would expect something similar to what Ron and Molly share. Next up, we get Gracie Cochran as Ginny Weasley, Ron's younger sister, Tristan Harland and Gabriel Harland as Fred and George Weasley, and Ruari Spooner as Percy Weasley, the unbearably uptight prefect of Gryffindor House.
Parents were the kindest, bravest people I ever met. They were funny and clever.
We're looking forward to seeing how all of these characters embrace Harry as he joins their big wacky family. Unfortunately though, that's all we got for you guys this time. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons because those 2 small clicks will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these lore lockdowns. So yeah, stay safe out there, thanks for watching, and we'll see ya in the next one.